Exposed, the unexpected connection that transformed a blind date CEO and widow's amazing journey. Emily stood outside the downtown restaurant, her heart racing, unsure of what awaited her. 3 years had passed since Peter's death, yet the weight of grief remained a constant, heavy companion. Her friends had convinced her to take the plunge into this blind date with Jack, a high-powered CEO, promising he'd be a catch. But that didn't ease her unease. What did a successful man want with a single mother with a past like hers? Inside, laughter and clinking glasses painted a picture of a life that felt worlds away from her own. Deftly maintaining her composure, Emily scanned the bustling room for the man she would feign enthusiasm for. When their eyes met, Jack's confident smile was like a flash of light, yet it quickly dimmed her spirits. Here was a man who seemed to own the world, while she felt like a ghost wandering through it. Their initial conversation was laced with polite skepticism. As they exchanged pleasantries, she felt a familiar pang of loneliness creeping in. Could she share her burdens? The chaotic mornings, missed deadlines at work while managing the art gallery, the constant fear she wouldn't be enough for her daughter. Yet as they delved into chopsticks, mishaps, and the raw honesty of parenting, something deeper began to stir. "I handle company crises, and I can't even handle a toddler meltdown," Jack joked, and Emily found herself laughing too hard, almost too easily. For a moment, the weight of the world lifted. Yet, with each message buzz that interrupted their connection, the harsh reality returned. She watched Jack's demeanor shift from charming and confident to something more panicked with every notification he received. Then it hit the news that his tech startup was in the middle of a controversy. Internally, Emily's chest tightened, understanding the gravity of the storm brewing in Jack's mind. It felt all too familiar, the pressure of expectations, of being held under a magnifying glass. Could she even offer solace when she was straddling her own chasm of grief? The moment transformed from a romantic escapade into something daunting. Was caring for this charismatic man worth the risk when she still mourned the love of her life? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then came the unexpected. Emily discovered a connection that tied her directly to Jack's family feud. The revelation struck like lightning, the betrayal felt colossal. She was at a crossroads. Could she help this man while balancing her own emotional minefield? A pressure built within, raising questions about loyalty to her late husband's memory versus her emerging bond with Jack. Would stepping into this whirlwind end in devastation? Was she setting herself up for heartbreak again, a second failure looming over her like a specter? Jack turned to her, his expression mingled with admiration and frustration, an amalgamation that matched her own inner turmoil. The air crackled with tension, a mixture of opportunities and fears grabbing hold. Was this the moment she would rise from the ashes of her grief or be consumed by the flames of ambition and legacy? She hesitated, grappling with an unshakable dread and an aching desire for connection that might help her reclaim the life she'd lost. Everything hung in the balance. As they navigated the churning waters before them, pain and hope swirled together. And just as clarity glimmered near, she realized the magnitude of choice lay in each moment and their fragile connection hung by the thinnest of threads. The future twisted into a web of uncertainty, with their fragile hearts suspended in a perilous dance. Emily could feel her heart pounding as silence enveloped them both, a heavy blanket of unsaid words and lingering doubts. This moment was no longer just a blind date, it was a revelation of intertwined fates that she had never anticipated. The air around them buzzed with unanswered questions, and her mind raced with the implications of what she'd just learned about Jack's family history. Her internal conflict intensified, urging her to speak, to bridge the chasm of uncertainty. Would honesty solidify their fragile bond, or would it fracture her resolve? She took a breath, feeling the weight of the swirls of choice before her. Trust was fragile, and here she stood, inches away from either a chance at new beginnings or a spiral back into her solitude. "Jack," she began, her voice steady but vulnerable. "There's something we need to address." She wasn't sure how he would react. Their connection thus far felt promising yet precariously balanced. The vulnerability of exposing herself was a risk she had to take, even if it meant unveiling her own scars. He looked at her with a mix of sorrow and apprehension, prompting her to continue. "I understand there's a lot at stake for you with your company. But I can't ignore that my late husband might have played a part in your family's turmoil." Jack's features hardened momentarily, and Emily braced for the fallout, her heartbeat sinking with the tension that emanated from him. She prepared her apology a mixture of defender and confidant, but the reality of the situation was far graver than she'd anticipated. Would he recoil, or would he find the compassion she yearned to offer? "Life has a way of twisting connections," he replied, his voice clipped yet layered with yearning. Emily sensed the struggle behind his words, a turbulent sea battling the waves of his past. "Maybe I'm foolish for hoping something genuine could form between us, while our lives are so deeply entangled with pain." In that moment, Emily saw a glint of recognition in his eyes, an understanding that perhaps they were both seeking a form of healing. The whirlwind that swirled around them began to feel like a shared storm rather than two isolated tragedies colliding. Could this be a way to reclaim lost pieces of themselves amidst the chaos? Despite the turmoil brewing in her chest, the more they shared their truths, the more she began to recognize paths emerging from the shadows threatening to swallow them both. This relationship could either spell disaster or birth resilience, a possibility she could neither ignore nor embrace entirely. Jack leaned forward, curiosity etched on his brow. "What if this is the turning point for both of us? I don't want to lose what we've started, but we need more than just romantic gestures. We need to confront these ghosts together." As they navigated through this emotional landscape, Emily felt a flicker of determination alongside her uncertainty. Yet, a lingering doubt grounded her. Could she truly confront the familial ties that could be marred by both of their pasts? Each moment felt pivotal, ripe with consequence. Just then, the restaurant's door swung open, and a familiar face slipped into view, her friend Sarah, inadvertently interrupting their profound moment. Emily's heart sank, torn between gratitude for a reprieve and the dismay of a distraction. What would Sarah think? But even more pressing, what would Emily choose to embrace amid urgency's chaotic churn? As she held Jack's gaze, the moment crystallized into a powerful realization. The path she would choose could either embolden her or pull her back into despair. This was not just a hurdle to leap over, it was a summit to conquer, with the promise of new beginnings within reach. But the question loomed: was she ready to face the upcoming storm, exposed and vulnerable yet undaunted? The tension between them brimmed with possibilities as they awaited Sarah's approach, each breath stepping deeper into the undeniable unknown. What would the new chapter reveal, and could they emerge from this as more than just survivors of their respective griefs? Emily forced a smile as Sarah approached, the lively energy of her friend an electrifying contrast to the heavy air surrounding her and Jack. The push and pull of their earlier conversation weighed heavily on her, yet at the same time, a flicker of anticipation ignited within her. Could this unexpected connection lead to something transformative? "Hey, you two. Sorry I'm late," Sarah said, her cheerful voice slicing through the tension. "I thought I'd never get here, traffic was a nightmare." "What are you two deep in conversation about?" Emily's instinct was to shield to wrap the delicate emotional upheaval she and Jack were traversing in layers of casual indifference. "Oh, just some life stuff," she replied, grateful her tone remained steady. Jack's eyes flicked between the two women, and Emily could see the balance shifting. Was he feeling pushed away or a renewed pull towards vulnerability? It ignited her determination once more. Perhaps there was still a way to honor their moment while welcoming Sarah's lively spirit. "Well, life stuff is always interesting." Sarah laughed, her attention shifting toward Jack, who seemed to ruminate on her words. "You must be Jack, then. Emily's mentioned you a lot. I didn't realize you'd be so well, here." Emily's heart raced at Sarah's implication. She could see Jack wrestling internally, the abrupt change in mood amplifying her own feelings of uncertainty. Would he embrace the banter, or would he recoil, disturbed by the intrusion. But Jack was sharp. Emily could see him adjusting, his initial stiffness beginning to soften. "Nice to meet you, Sarah," Jack said, his voice steady but warm. "Emily S. told me about you, too." The sincerity in his tone surprised her. Perhaps there was a burgeoning allyship forming. As Sarah launched into a recount of their latest escapades, Emily partially tuned out, her mind reeling with questions. In this moment of distraction, she wondered about Jack's family legacy and how she fit into the narrative. They had barely scratched the surface of their pasts, and here they were, darting around truths that felt like ticking time bombs. But she couldn't ignore that while her own grief was tethered to loss, Jack's was shaped by more complex forces. "Are you okay?" Sarah's voice pierced through her thoughts, and Emily shifted her gaze back to her friend. There was concern etched on Sarah's brow. Emily realized she'd been staring intently into space. "Yeah, just processing," Emily replied, her contemplation now sharing space with resolve. This was new ground. Her awareness shifted from fear of judgment to a recognition that she could define her own narrative. "Processing? Pfft, that sounds serious," Sarah teased, playfully nudging Emily. "Let us get some drinks and lighten the mood." "Come on, I insist." Jack chuckled, and Emily found herself smiling, a warmth unfurling within. The intoxicating mix of companionship and uncertainty began to weave new threads in the fabric of her reality. Maybe this unexpected interlude didn't derail her and Jack's conversation but instead offered an opportunity to build a stronger foundation amid the chaos. As they settled into laughter over past mishaps and old stories, Emily caught Jack's fleeting glances, a silent agreement that somehow remained unspoken yet understood. Their journey was not solely about confronting their pain, it was also about the small moments that began stitching together a fragile bond. The layers of heartbreak, while they remained, were shifting, evolving into something with greater potential. But as the laughter carried on, a stillness loomed in Emily's mind. Would she risk disaster to build something meaningful, or would her past keep retreating into the shadows? She felt like a tightrope walker attempting to balance on an unusually committed choice. The moment felt pivotal, and tomorrow would beckon with unanswered questions, testing the strength of her burgeoning resolve. She caught Jack's eye again, and in that charged moment, the serious nuance of their shared circumstance weighed heavily. Perhaps the real work began. Now, not just with secrets and revealing layers but with a determination to move forward together. The heaviness of their history settled again, waiting for the right moment to break and reshape. Just as she thought they were enjoying a respite, Sarah leaned in close, adding a spark of surprise to the conversation. "So, what happens when you each decide to face the truth about your pasts, huh?" Caught off guard, Emily's heart sank as uncertainty surged to the surface once more. Amid laughter, she felt the impending storm swirling ever closer. Would the revelation tear them apart, or could it truly unite them? As Emily searched Jack's face for reassurance, a new realization dawned upon her. It was time to confront what lay ahead, and she was no longer willing to retreat into silence. Emily's breath caught in her throat, Sarah's words lingered in the air, heavy with implication. Suddenly, the carefree laughter around their table felt like a flimsy veneer, barely hiding the truths that each of them had only begun to confront. She could sense Jack's stillness, the way he squared his shoulders, preparing for the inevitable reckoning that seemed to hang over them like storm clouds. "Sarah, you can't just drop truth bombs like that," Emily managed to say, her voice lighter than she felt. "Why not?" Sarah pushed, unwavering. "We can't keep dancing around our pasts forever. Don't you think it's about time?" The room felt constricting, the vibrant chatter of other patrons fading into a dull hum. Emily felt the tightness in her chest surge, an impulse to guard her heart, but she resisted. Instead, she turned fully toward Jack, her courage building. "What do you think, Jack? Are we ready to face those truths?" He met her gaze, a storm of conflict mirrored in his eyes. "I think I avoided it long enough," he admitted. There was no hesitation in his tone, it was a ripple of honesty that coursed between them, dismantling the walls they had erected. Emily's pulse quickened, a rare blend of anxiety and hope. That moment of honesty marked a threshold, she realized it wasn't merely about revealing burdens or dredging up pain, but rather about making space for growth. Could the two of them emerge from this shared vulnerability with clarity on their paths forward? Sarah's expression softened, the teasing glint giving way to empathy. You're both so strong but also so human. It's okay to feel lost. But remember, sharing doesn't make you weak, it makes you real. Jack nodded, and Emily could see him grappling with emotions that he had kept tightly controlled. I guess we both have a lot more baggage than we like to admit, he said slowly. Why is it so hard to let go? Emily took a sip of her drink, centering herself. It's easier to be defined by our scars than to fight for a future unmarked by them, she admitted, surprised at the confession that had escaped her lips. She thought she needed to stay poised, to appear put together, but now she longed for a connection forged in authenticity and nuance. Letting go requires facing what we've lost, she continued, her voice steadier now. For me, it's about resilience. I've carried so much grief, but holding onto it for so long only paralyzed me. Silence enveloped them, a calm before the revealed truths. Jack leaned in, intensity radiating from him. You understand what loss feels like. The struggle to find meaning again, he said quietly, his voice trembling with the weight of shared experience. It was a raw connection that sent shivers down her spine, igniting her determination. Then let us allow ourselves to explore it, Emily suggested, her heart racing with purpose. Let us peel back those layers together. It's scary, but maybe there's potential in that uncertainty. A flicker of relief crossed Jack's face, and she knew they were standing at a crossroads that demanded action. Their journey ahead wasn't just a risk, it was the gateway to newfound understanding. As they continued, an unexplainable warmth filled Emily, igniting a sense of renewed vigor. They were no longer isolated figures trapped in their own tragedies but explorers navigating the murky waters together. Yet, as the conversation flowed, Emily couldn't shake the gnawing fear that lurked beneath the surface. What if confronting their histories would only widen the chasm? What would happen when professional ambitions and personal discoveries collided against the weight of losses they dared to unearth? Just then, Jack's phone buzzed, but he ignored it, choosing to invest wholly in their moment, and for the first time, Emily felt a clear path ahead. Tomorrow would demand much, but for tonight, hope lingered at the edge of their unspoken commitments. Then, as the vibrant laughter returned to the table, Sarah's phone buzzed too, and Emily watched as her friend's expression hardened. Whatever was on the other end was crucial, undoubtedly. Interrupting a breakthrough they had just begun to carve out. Hey, I'm really sorry, but Sarah's voice trailed off, and Emily felt her heart drop once again. This wasn't how she envisioned their revelations concluding. What if this news redirected their focus, filching away the rare momentum they had just built? Is everything okay? Emily asked, her apprehension mirroring Jack's concern. Sarah swallowed hard, hesitating before answering, her eyes darting towards Emily and then Jack. We need to talk. It's urgent. In an instant, the fragile air of their blossoming dynamics felt suffocated under the weight of impending change. Sensing the shift, Emily's thoughts raced. Would this reveal shatter what they had begun to weave, or force them deeper into the truth they were trying to escape? The uncertainty loomed, and she couldn't help but wonder if the next chapter of their journey would be one of confrontation or clarity. Emily struggled to regain her composure as Sarah's grave expression held her captive. The air throbbed with a tension that felt almost tangible, and she couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to confront something much larger than any of them had anticipated. Jack, his eyes fixed on Sarah, seemed equally unsettled. What is going on? His voice was steady, but the slight tremor hinted at his anticipation. Sarah took a deep breath, her phone still clutched tightly in her hand. It's about work. There's been an issue at the office. It's complicated, but I think we need to address it now. It could affect our projects, and maybe even our team dynamics. Emily's stomach churned. Work had always been a sanctum from the chaos of her personal life, and now, it was intruding like an uninvited guest. Exchanging glances with Jack, she sensed the shared understanding between them. This wasn't the moment they had been waiting for, yet here they stood, ready to face yet another challenge. Do we really have to deal with this tonight? Emily asked, her frustration barely masked. She wanted to push back, to preserve the fragile connection they had just formed. Yet, something was stirring in her, coaxing her to allow this conversation into their lives. I'm afraid so, Sarah replied, her voice low yet determined. We can't afford distractions. If we want to move forward, we need to confront this as a team, starting with what we know. Emily's mind began to race. Was this a necessary detour or an unwelcome disruption? While her instincts felt chaotic, she also recognized the opportunity. This was a chance to practice resilience in real time, to confront an immediate obstacle rather than pulling back into her comfort zone. Okay, let us hear it, Jack said, breaking the silence that settled heavily over them. Sarah hesitated, gathering her thoughts before launching into a detailed account of a conflict brewing within their team, disagreements over project priorities, missed deadlines, and a growing sense of distrust. Each point felt like a strike against their camaraderie, but behind her frustration, Emily detected an undercurrent of urgency, something driving Sarah to prioritize the team above her own emotional noise. As they discussed strategies and solutions, Emily watched Jack closely. His mind shifted into gear, brainstorming potential resolutions, embracing the challenge with a fervor that both inspired her and sent a flutter of admiration through her. She started to see him not just as a partner in facing personal truths, but as a formidable ally in their careers, capable of fierce determination amidst chaos. But that realization brought deeper questions to the surface. What would happen if they succeeded professionally? What unspoken barriers would that success expose in their personal relationship? Let us focus on rebuilding trust, Emily finally suggested, her voice stronger than she felt. We need open communication among the team. If we can take our conversations back to that level, we might rekindle their faith in us. Jack nodded, visibly impressed. That's a solid approach. We can work on creating more transparency, set clear expectations. It starts here, doesn't it? The escalating conversation shifted from an emergency meeting to an unexpected collaborative effort, revitalizing the motivation within the trio. Emily felt a surge of energy, a sense of agency blossomed as if new pathways were forming under her feet. As they wrapped up their plans, a quiet understanding settled between Emily and Jack. Both had reclaimed their authority not only as professionals but as individuals willing to face uncertainty head-on. The distractions had not derailed them, rather, they de-propelled them forward, providing fertile ground for growth. All right, I feel a bit better about this, Sarah said, relief creeping into her tone. The tension in the air dissipated slightly, but Emily felt a new weight settle within her, a responsibility for the outcomes they were setting in motion. Jack reached for her hand, squeezing it lightly. Whatever happens next, we face it together, always, he said, an anchored promise that echoed through their vulnerability. Yet, something gnawed at Emily as they left the gathering. Their growth felt fragile, threaded together by tumult, and she pondered whether this collaboration would withstand the pressures outside their bubble. With unexpected possibilities ahead, a new question loomed: how would the revelations they were facing in their professional lives influence their personal paths? And what lingering secrets would they have to confront when the echoes of the meeting faded into the night? Emily awoke the next morning weighed down by the previous night's events. The conversation revolving around the team issues gnawed at her thoughts, mingling with doubts about her own capabilities. She got up, the sunlight pouring through her window, unfamiliar yet comforting. A slight resolve ignited within her. She could no longer afford to remain passive. At the office later that day, the atmosphere felt charged. Team members whispered, casting furtive glances Emily's way. The ripple of unrest was palpable. She braced herself against her desk, breathing deeply, her hands finding a line of penmanship, classic pros and cons for each proposed solution swirling in her head. Yet uncertainty still loomed over her decision-making. Hey, Jack's voice broke through her reverie, somehow infusing her with warmth. You look deep in thought. Maybe too deep, she replied, forcing a small smile. There's a lot weighing on my mind. Me too, Jack admitted, the tension visible in his face. But I've been considering our conversation about trust. What if we took it a step further? Curiosity piqued. How do you mean? What if we laid everything on the table, all our challenges, and took a collaborative approach with the entire team? If we invite them to share openly, we can identify the root causes of this discontent instead of skimming the surface. Emily hesitated, his idea resonant yet intimidating. She had been operating under the impression that vulnerability might expose her weaknesses. This approach, however, could either reinforce their bond as a cohesive unit or shatter it completely. That sounds risky, she finally said. Risk? Jack clarified. Or is it an opportunity? It could give everyone a chance to voice what they're really feeling and help them feel heard. His perspective shifted something within her. This could be a turning point for the team and for herself. With renewed purpose, she replied, "Let us do it. We can schedule a team meeting to facilitate this discussion. Transparency isn't just a buzzword, it could be our savior." As she and Jack began outlining their agenda, adrenaline coursed through Emily. Each word she typed felt like reclaiming lost authority, stepping into a role that had remained dormant within her. To act rather than react, it was liberating. In the afternoon meeting, the energy in the room was thick. Team members shuffled in, their expressions a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Emily stood at the front, her palms clammy but resolved. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We have a lot to discuss about our current challenges. Everyone's input will make a significant difference." As discussions unfolded, Emily encouraged everyone to voice their opinions freely. What began as an inclination toward confrontation turned into dialogue steeped in honesty. Each person shared their grievances, revealing layers of frustration that Emily had realized existed beneath the surface. With each passing moment, the weight on her shoulders lightened, replaced with invigorating purpose. For the first time, she felt the cohesive strength of the team wasn't something to be feared but rather embraced. By the time the meeting wrapped to a close, murmured discussions floated through the air, an undercurrent of cautious optimism. She glanced at Jack, who wore a proud smile on his face. But as they stepped out to face the looming reality outside their meeting room, Emily felt a shift in the environment, a tension still sparked in the air. This newfound transparency might have ignited hope, but it also exposed unresolved conflicts simmering just out of view. The lingering question plagued her mind: would the team be able to harness newfound trust, or would they ultimately falter under pre-existing tensions? As she walked alongside Jack, their hands brushed just enough to send a jolt through her. An unspoken connection bound them, yet so many uncertainties remained. Would their personal relationship withstand the resurgence of professional challenges? Would they truly be able to bridge the divide created by their roles within the workplace? A sudden thought struck her: what revelations awaited them on this convoluted journey ahead? The realization hit her hard, a choice loomed. Would she confront the complexities of their evolving relationship? Or would uncertainty keep her rooted in her comfort zone? The stakes were higher than ever. Now she understood change was inevitable, but it was how they navigated that change that would truly define their paths. As the echoes of their collaborative discussion faded, a chilling awareness gnawed at her. The moment to face both personal and professional crossroads was fast approaching. What lay hidden beneath their trusted facade was still waiting to emerge. Emily arrived early the next morning, determined but still wrestling with a tumult of emotions. She perched on the edge of her desk, her thoughts a chaotic blend of anticipation and dread. The previous day had almost felt cathartic, yet the palpable tension hanging over the team weighed heavier than before. What she had hoped would be a unifying experience had merely served to surface deeper fractures. The faint sound of footsteps pulled her from her thoughts. It was Lena, a team member known for her blunt honesty, who now approached with clear intent. "About yesterday," she started, crossing her arms defensively. "I don't know if that helped." Emily's heart raced. The stakes were no longer theoretical. "I appreciate your honesty, Lena. What do you think went wrong?" Lena sighed, her expression softening. "It just felt like venting. We need action." "Agreed," Emily replied, her resolve stirring again. "But I think we need to understand where we stand before we can move forward." "What specifically did you need from yesterday?" "Leadership. Guidance. Someone to take charge of an actual solution, not just talk. Emily felt the weight of those words sink in. Lena's frustration echoed the sentiments swirling in several minds within the room. Perhaps her efforts at fostering openness had inadvertently created a void of direction. The moment was pivotal. Emily faced a choice: shrink back or step up. Let us create a plan, something tangible, Emily said, her voice gaining strength. We can brainstorm practical solutions, fixes that address the frustrations shared yesterday. Lena nodded, a flicker of approval lighting her eyes. Ideas began circulating among the team gradually throughout the day, and Emily took this chance to facilitate brainstorming sessions. Each suggestion built a framework for change. She observed her colleagues transform before her eyes. Engagement ignited where previously there had only been apathy. It was exhilarating, yet it was daunting. She was no longer merely part of the discussions, she was leading them. That afternoon, she cornered Jack during a break, her heart pounding with an urgency she couldn't quite place. What do you think about putting together a plan of action? I think we have to show everyone we're serious about implementing change, she proposed. His brow knitted in thoughtful contemplation. Absolutely, but we have to set realistic timelines, too. People need to see progress, not just intentions. Something in his perspective steadied her. He wasn't just supportive, he was smart. As they fleshed out responsibilities and timelines, Emily felt the balance of professional and personal dynamics shift. The boundaries blurred in an intriguing dance, fueled by their collaborative energies. Yet beneath the surface of her invigorating profession growth, a deeper anxiety lingered, one that tugged at her when least expected. This alignment with Jack was easy, almost effortless, and that scared her. She still wrestled with the question of where they stood, both as colleagues and potentially more. Did mutual professional respect translate to personal merit? After the workday closed, Emily lingered, contemplating the uncharted emotional territory ahead. She understood that to navigate this, she had to confront her fears openly, acknowledge their bond, and ultimately decide its future. As Jack approached, she steeled herself. Can we talk more about what's next? About us? The moment hung between them, charged and unsteady. Jack's gaze locked onto hers, a mixture of determination and uncertainty mirrored in his eyes. Of course, he replied carefully, but a flicker of trepidation seeped into his voice. The acknowledgement of their connection was now unavoidable, but the much more profound question loomed large. Could they sustain this relationship amidst the complexities of their professional lives? Emily knew the road ahead would be tumultuous. This was just the beginning of a journey into a labyrinth of conflicting interests and deepening ties, the kind that could either invigorate her life or leave it shattered. Would she embrace the unfolding drama or retreat into uncertainty once again? The moment was close. The decision point standing before her was one she could no longer avoid. Would she have the courage to traverse through both her professional ambitions and the vulnerabilities of her heart? Emily barely slept that night, her mind racing through a maze of possibilities and outcomes. The discussion with Jack had left her both exhilarated and terrified. She stared at the ceiling, mentally replaying their conversation as dawn finally broke, casting a soft light into her room. The uncertainty of where they might stand lingered heavily in the span of ordinary conversation. The dynamics of her entire work life threatened to shift. She arrived at the office earlier than usual, driven by an urgent need to transform her feelings into action. The quiet hum of the building mirrored her inner resolve. This could be the day she defined her leadership. Yet with each step, a knot tightened in her stomach as she considered the implications of her decisions. As she settled into her desk, she mentally organized her notes, focusing on the practicalities of the plan they had discussed. Emily assembled the rough outlines of objectives, measures, and timelines, the structure helping to calm her nerves. She recognized this was about more than just the work at hand, it was about redefining herself within the team and beyond. The day rolled on, and excitement bubbled through the office as she called everyone together to review the frameworks they had devised. They gathered in a subdued meeting space, the air thick with anticipation. Emily initiated the conversation, her heart pounding yet steady in its rhythm as she laid out the proposed plan. Today isn't just about putting systems in place, she proclaimed, directing her gaze passionately toward her colleagues. It's about transforming our mindset. We've spent enough time pointing out problems now. Let us take charge and propose solutions that can actually innovate our work. A palpable shift occurred, faces once clouded with doubt now illuminated with engagement. Ideas flowed, previously hesitant voices chimed in, and Emily couldn't help but feel empowered by the collaborative energy. In the throes of this exchange, her confidence blossomed. She was becoming not just a participant, but a leader, one that fostered enthusiasm and camaraderie rather than merely seeking compliance. As the discussion progressed, she encouraged each person to articulate how the collective plan aligned with their individual roles, discovering hidden capabilities among her teammates. A software developer from the corner spoke up, suggesting a new tech integration that streamlined their communication processes. A marketing associate elaborated on using analytics to measure progress against their objectives more effectively. One by one, contributions built a dynamic tapestry of possibility, igniting a sense of ownership across the room. However, beneath the surge of creativity, Emily couldn't ignore the shifting dynamic with Jack. They shared frequent glances, their professional exchange laced with an undercurrent of unrecognized tension. She recognized that she had to confront this aspect soon. The weight of ignored feelings began to overshadow her progress. Later that afternoon, Emily sought a moment to breathe, stepping out onto the roof terrace. The sweeping view of the city seemed to reflect the vastness of her aspirations, but it also brought forth an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. Had she made the right choices today? What would revealing her feelings for Jack mean for their professional landscape? Just as she pondered the next steps, Jack joined her on the terrace, his presence a blend of familiar comfort and new uncertainty. "You did well in there," he remarked, a hint of admiration in his voice. "Thanks, but I wouldn't have felt strong without everyone's support." "It feels different now, doesn't it?" she replied, her voice laced with a deeper inquiry. Jack studied her. "Yes, it does. And it's exciting, everything is shifting." The unsaid hung heavily, yet Emily wanted to reach for clarity amidst the swirling emotions. "I think we need to address what's shifting between us, too." Jack's tension was palpable, revealing a tempestuous side of vulnerability that matched her own. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden sheen over the buildings, Emily realized she stood at another decision point. Would she seize this moment to pursue clarity, or would fear prompt her to retreat back into ambiguity? Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, determined to confront not just professional challenges but the emotional landscape they had forged together. "Jack," she began, her heart racing but her voice steady, "can we talk about how we navigate this us?" The words hung expectantly in the air between them, anxiety crackling like static, and in that moment, she understood, whatever came next would change everything. Would they find a way to integrate their personal connection into their professional lives, or would their ambitions pull them apart? Emily had opened a door, but what awaited on the other side loomed uncertain. Jack's gaze faltered for a brief moment before his expression settled into a thoughtful calm. The tension between them twisted like a vine, intertwining personal feelings with professional stakes, leaving Emily torn between exhilaration and fear. She sensed the weight of the moment pressing against them both, a threshold ripe for crossing but fraught with the risk of unraveling everything. "Emily," he began, his voice low yet steady, "I've been thinking about this too. What's happening between us? It's complicated." The way he spoke made her pulse quicken. There was a sincerity in his words that struck her deeply. "I know it's complicated, but we need to be honest with each other," she replied, drawing a measured breath. The cool evening breeze swept around them, as if urging her to clarify the tangled mess of their emotions. "I don't want to hide what we have, but I also don't want it to define our work. I believe we can balance both." Jack looked into her eyes, searching for certainty that wasn't entirely there. "I feel the same, but I'm not sure how to separate the two. It's not just about us anymore, it's about the team, our leadership, everything is connected." Her heart raced at his acknowledgement. Reality was dawning on her. This wasn't merely about navigating a potential relationship but re-examining her professional identity in tandem with burgeoning personal feelings. "So, what do we do?" she asked, her voice steady despite the internal tempest swelling within. Jack stepped closer, their proximity intensifying the charged atmosphere. Maybe we don't try to overthink it right now. What if we focus on what we can control: our work, leading our team through this transformation? We can figure out the rest as we go. A spark of frustration flickered inside her. Wasn't he at the ambiguity that had driven her to this verge of vulnerability? But if we avoid it, we just prolong the confusion? Caution mingled with urgency in her tone, the need for clarity surging to the forefront. He ran a hand through his hair, visibly grappling with the situation. I guess the question is, can we compartmentalize? The vulnerability in his voice mirrored her own tumultuous thoughts. I want to try, she answered, penning the resolve with a steadiness she didn't quite feel. But I need your promise that we won't ignore it. Not forever, and not for the sake of professionalism. Jack nodded slowly, the storm of their emotions tracing the outlines of an agreement. Okay. A promise. We deal with it as it comes while we focus on leading the team. A sensation of relief washed over her, though it didn't fully chase away the residual anxiety. They'd chosen a path, one that asked them to be proactive in their respective roles without disregarding the complexities of their evolving connection. Let us make sure not to let anything compromise our goals, she added, her mind racing with the strategy of balancing both elements. As they stood on the terrace, the city lights flickering below felt like an illuminating reminder of the dual realities they navigated. Would their commitment to professional integrity withstand the pressures of individual emotions? The web of possibilities expanded, thrilling and terrifying all at once. The moment finally settled into a tentative silence, both of them grasping the implications of their choices. Emily's thoughts raced into the future ahead, strategies for the project, the dynamics of their team, and the path of her personal feelings. They carried an unwritten narrative more intricate than any outlined plan. Just then, Emily's phone vibrated with a message notification. She glanced down, her stomach twisting as she recognized the name. It was from Sarah, her mentor. Urgent meet tomorrow about a potential shakeup in upper management. Her mind spiraled back into the professional realm, leaving the emotional exchange teetering on the edge. Was this shakeup a detriment or an opportunity? Would it enhance or complicate her standing with Jack? The stakes just got higher as everything felt at once pivotal and precarious. Tomorrow's meeting might change everything again, she said, her heart caught in the wild rush of uncertainty. Jack's expression mirrored hers, concern, anticipation, and a shared questioning of what the future might hold. Guess we have to be ready for anything, he replied thoughtfully, the resolve in his voice reaffirming their unity in facing whatever trials lay ahead. With tomorrow looming like an uncharted challenge, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the real test of her growth and their bond was just beginning. The horizon held possibility, but so much lay in the unknown. As they parted ways that night, a profound realization settled within her. Clarity could emerge from confusion, but first, the turmoil needed to be embraced. How could she harness this chance for both personal and professional growth in a world where everything seemed intertwined, and what would she sacrifice along the way? The next day, Emily arrived at the office brimming with nerves. The air seemed thick with anticipation and uncertainty. The faces of her colleagues reflected a mix of curiosity and anxiety. Today's meeting with upper management could alter the trajectory of their entire team, but for Emily, it felt like an invitation to step fully into her role as a leader. As she settled into her seat, Jack joined her, and for an instant, their eyes locked with a shared understanding. This was more than just a meeting, it was a defining moment for both their professional lives and their evolving relationship. During the meeting, the room buzzed with energy as the upper management team outlined their vision for the company. They discussed potential restructuring aimed at streamlining processes and boosting profitability. Emily listened intently, mentally cataloging every detail, envisioning how their projects could align with this new direction. When the room grew quiet, and the time for questions arrived, Emily seized the moment. I appreciate the insights shared today, she began confidently, but I believe aligning our teams with clear objectives and fostering a culture of openness will be essential to implementing these changes effective. If we engage our teams collaboratively, they'll buy into the new vision. The room's atmosphere shifted. Colleagues began to nod, and she sensed a swell of support. Jack's glance of admiration across the table strengthened her resolve. Surging forward with practical strategies she and Jack had developed, she proposed a framework for measuring progress and building morale. As she spoke, clarity washed over her. This was her moment, not just within the company but as a person emerging from grief and uncertainty. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Senior management embraced her suggestions, and before long, they committed to support the initiatives she had articulated. After the meeting, the team filed out with a newfound sense of purpose, and Emily felt electrified. This was what leadership looked like, a commitment to empower others, to be the catalyst for change. In that moment, she saw the distance she had traveled since the dark days of her grief. She had transformed from a woman weighted by loss into a leader capable of inspiring others to rise above their challenges. The day flowed seamlessly, yet the undercurrent of her connection with Jack lingered like an unfinished melody. As evening approached, they retreated to her office, the door quietly clicking shut behind them. "We did it!" she exclaimed, excitement bubbling over. Jack smiled, his pride evident. "You led that meeting brilliantly, Emily." "I knew you had it in you," he replied, taking a step closer. "It's incredible to see you embrace your role fully." Their proximity ignited a tension that had built over time, a testament to the connection forged through shared vulnerabilities and ambitions. "But Jack," she said, her voice softening, "we need to face our situation too. If we're going to navigate this partnership professionally and personally, then we need clarity." Jack nodded, the seriousness of her words settling over them like a storm cloud. "You're right. We can't keep pushing our feelings aside." In that moment, it felt as if all the uncertainties that had hung between them gathered into a single point. They were two individuals who had shared their scars and their inner battles and were now standing on the precipice of something deeper. "Let us be real about what this could mean," Emily continued, searching his eyes for affirmation. "Our relationship is bound to impact our work. We need to commit to being transparent not just with each other, but with the team if it comes to that." Jack took a deep breath, visibly contemplating her words. "I agree. But it's also about ensuring our roles don't blur, right? We need to keep professionalism at the forefront." Emily felt relieved at his acknowledgement, appreciating the gravity with which he approached their connection. "It's all about balance," she replied, emboldened. "We can be partners in personal and professional realms, but we must prioritize our work too. This isn't just about us, it's about the team's welfare." A sense of understanding passed between them, a mutual respect solidifying their bond. "Then, let us tackle this together," he said, the warmth of his enthusiasm matching her own. From that moment on, they made a pact to communicate openly about their feelings while supporting one another in their professional endeavors. It was a delicate balance, but one they were both willing to navigate. In the following weeks, Emily's leadership shone brighter than ever. She established a feedback loop with her team, aligning their efforts with the company's goals while fostering a culture of collaboration and respect. Her confidence grew, and she garnered recognition within upper management for her innovative approach. A promotion soon felt inevitable. At the same time, her relationship with Jack blossomed into something beautiful yet grounded. They found solace in each other's company, sharing meals, hiking on weekends, and confiding in their aspirations and fears. Each moment spent together fortified their bond, proving that they could indeed balance their growing feelings with their professional responsibilities. As Emily stood before her office window one late afternoon, surveying the glimmering skyline, she felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. She had not only reclaimed her identity as a leader but had achieved a delicate equilibrium between her past and present. Every challenge had molded her, pushing her closer to her true self. In the reflections of the glowing city, she saw hope, resilience, and possibility. For the first time in years, she felt as if she had conquered her grief. Turning away from the window, her heart brimming with newfound confidence, she felt ready to meet whatever came next, both in her career and in her relationship with Jack. Her journey, marked by transformation and growth, illuminated a path always within reach, reminding her that embracing the complexities of life could lead to profound strength and connection. Emily had arrived. There was nothing holding her back now. she was ready to embrace every opportunity that lay ahead, hand in hand with Jack, through the intertwining landscapes of love and ambition that awaited them both. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. We'd love to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the significance of supporting the channel through these actions.